to read into the record that I hope to have some support on. An emergency resolution of the Miami City Commission with attachments directing the city manager to work with the city mayor, the city police department, and any and all appropriate city, county, state, and federal officials and agencies to take all necessary actions, including effectuating a temporary street closure subject to county, state, and federal regulations for those portions of public streets generally located along Northwest First Avenue, Northwest First Court, Northwest First Place, Northwest Second Avenue, and Northwest 13th Street, Miami, Florida, under the Dolphin Expressway, as shown on the attached Exhibit A, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of city residents, making findings containing the severability clause and providing for an effective date. So, what this area is, as been described, is an area, as I talked about earlier, in Overtown, where,
excuse me, can we have a copy of it?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Did you make extra copies of this? But the resolution, I read the heading, the resolution, like, you're probably going to have some, right. So, you can take a look at the copy. But basically, to explain to you what's happening is this. There's an area there where there's lots of drug sales, drugs use, breaking of city and also state laws.
You're talking about 14th Street?
Just south of 14th Street.
South of 14th Street. I know
First Court, First Place. It's like Land of the Living Dead.
That's right.
And so the issue that we're having there is that there's a bit of lawlessness that's occurring there.
Second motion.
And I'm not getting much help from our police department. So I'm tasked with trying to find a way to really protect the safety of the individuals that are in that community. We know that in that neighborhood, that's where the young man ingested the drugs and he eventually died.
I second the motion, Commissioner, and let me say
I
that
third the motion.
you would like to make an additional motion after we pass this one, instructing the manager to sit with the police chief so that he could assign appropriate personnel to this area.
Sorry, Mr. Commissioner, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. If I can get you to say that.
Yes. Can I?
You can repeat it.
Yeah, what I was saying was, Mr. Manager, that I second the motion that Commissioner Hardiman presented, and I stated to him if he would like to make a motion after this motion passes, I would second a motion that he would make instructing you to sit with the police chief so that we could put the appropriate resources to that area.
I think it's included in the motion.
And let me say this, and you know, this is one of the things that I felt very strongly before coming back. If the types of shootings that we see on a weekly basis, sometimes sadly even on a daily basis, the amount of young men and women, and sometimes children, toddlers, months old or just a few years old, would be happening other than in areas like Liberty City, Overtown, Little Haiti, up north in some of our neighbor cities. If those types of shooting would be happening in places like Coral Gables, Pinecrest, Brickell, and parts of the wealthier road, Aventura, you would have full task force there because the people living in those areas would put up with it. So we should do the same in all of our neighborhoods because the people that are living in the areas like the one Commissioner Hardiman described deserve to know that they can, you know, have security also, that they can live not worrying where the next shot is going to come from. You know, are they going to be around tomorrow or not? Or their kids are going to be safe or not? So, Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir. If if I could, before the chief addresses your general concerns, I just wanted to explain to the chairman that the area in question is one that the chief may or be able to speak to, or Mr. Vickers, but we're working with the health department, we're working with our own staff. In fact, tomorrow I have a meeting downtown with Judge Leitman on how we can address in a much more robust way the concerns that we have. Plus, as you know, we went to court this week with regard to some of the constraints that we have. So your points are both well taken. I'll let the chief speak for himself. But this is a concern. I mean, I've seen the photos. I've driven by that area myself personally, and it's not what we want to be as a city. So with that, chief.
Before you speak, chief, I will say this. I happened to read the communication that the health department sent to the city of Miami, and to me, that wasn't a partnership. What the health department basically said was, leave everything as it is. There's a public health crisis in that space, and we want to study the people that are there. So they have no concern over the kids that walk through that area every single day, the people that live amongst what's happening there, the apartment buildings that are north, south, east, and west of that space. No one cares. Those are the streets that many city, county, and other employees drive through to cut through the traffic every single day.
Yes, sir. That was the ask, but that was not our response.
And I appreciate that, because my point is that if there are diseases that are now being concentrated in this space because of the actions of people who are breaking the law, then we have a responsibility of doing something and doing something now. You know, I'm not here to politicize this by any means. When we had issues there in those vacant lots, we had an ordinance go in to put up fencing. And I would say that fencing has caused a lot of the vagrancy that was going on in the lots there, private and public, to go away. And so now it's in our public right-of-ways. And now it's becoming something that is so egregious that the health department has found it necessary to send us communication saying you have a major issue in this space. And so we want to make sure that all our spaces, especially in areas like that, are safe for people to be. And if this is the way that we must go about the beginning of it, then that's something that we have to tackle. And the CRA, the Southeast Overtown CRA, this board has approved for many years additional officers in the Overtown area to ensure the safety and well-being of people who live there, businesses, etc. And you know, this is one of the areas that I spoke to when we first gave those dollars. We've given millions of dollars to the police department to enhance its service, to provide a service to the people that are there, and it just has not worked out. And that's why the Overtown CRA didn't renew that sort of agreement. And so, you know, I'm not going to continue banging my head with the department that I don't control. Neither do I want to make disparaging remarks about the department that my mother served. What I want is for the issue to be solved. And so I feel as if the best way for us to go about solving this issue is to do what we're doing today, which is to provide a temporary relief to the people in that area until there's some control over what's happening in that space. Chief.
That is a little difficult to manage, and first of all, I'm in agreement that this is a problem, and it's a problem that we have to deal with. I testified in federal court on Monday about how I felt about this. The ACLU has made essentially accusations against the police department because the way that we have been trying to clean the streets. That space is really kind of exhibit number one of this is a problem and we have to find something other than what we've done in the past, because to your point, it's not working. As far as the health department goes, I understand what you're saying about I want to examine what's happening. Part of that communication from them is saying that there's essentially a fear that if we disperse the folks that are there, then perhaps we're complicating the problem, because now we have diseased folks spread out.
In Miami-Dade County, that would be nice.
Right, so, but I understand both sides, is what I'm saying. I see the reasoning, the logic on each side. Nonetheless, like the manager said, we're not taking that as this is an order from the health department. We do have a plan that we're going to be launching, that'll include doing the cleanings there. Like I said, because we do have this pending litigation, it has been a little bit difficult, especially during the time of this trial, to try to do away with Pottinger, because it's unfair to the citizens of Miami that this only applies to us. The law, in order for it to be fair, should apply to everyone, and everyone has rights, not just the homeless. I don't want to sound insensitive to the homeless, but it's a problem.
But this ordinance doesn't speak to the homeless. This ordinance speaks to issues that we're having there. And so particularly, I'm not talking about homelessness in the city of Miami. I'm talking about lawlessness. I'm talking about using and selling drugs. I'm talking about violations of even Pottinger. So we're not talking about things that have perils on the homeless.
I understand.
I'm saying that there are issues that need to be solved. I respect the fact that the police department follows its commands when it comes to Pottinger, but they also turn a blind eye in many ways as well. They also don't investigate as they should. You know, we shouldn't assume people do not have a home because they look a certain way, because they pitch a tent in a certain place. Overtown has been, and hopefully will not continue to be, the best place to buy drugs in the city of Miami. We've heard it before. They get arrested in Homestead, they get released in the health district, in the area where Commissioner Gordon and I served, and they walk to Overtown. It's the cheapest Uber ride you've ever had in your life. And so they're prepared to make that move if they're going to end up in a space where they can freely use drugs and abuse them right there to die in our community. So look, what I'm saying to you is that before it was unfair, before it was intolerable, before it was only in the black neighborhoods, before it was you had overdose issues, people with dependency issues. But right now, we're talking about life and death of individuals who are in peril and in harm's way merely because they live there. And so our responsibility is to protect the citizens of this community, and that's what we're going to do. I think that's most appropriate. And so let the chips fall where they may when it comes to that. So I'm not trying to do any harm to anyone. All I'm saying is that I want the best to happen for that community, that area. And if there is an issue that is there, then we need to get control of that space, because right now we can't afford to have people in that community continue to die because they're exposed to hepatitis, they're exposed to HIV, they're exposed to a proliferation of trash where children who are walking in their neighborhood can, on any day, just like the one that passed away from ingesting those pills, but children will walk away any day, and I'm going to show you an image that I have, where there's so much garbage that you can easily step on a hypodermic needle. That, for some reason, in the supreme wisdom, the city of Miami has agreed to give to people to even inject themselves in that very same place. So, come on, give me a break. Somebody give me a fucking break. This has to stop. I want to open up for public comment.
Good afternoon. Bear with me. Recovering from a little respiratory. So, Madam Holmes, Executive Director, Wave of Women in Public Housing. Hello, Chief. It was nice to see you over in the park the other night. Thank you, Commissioner. Just a little bit coming here and going home. Certain streets I don't take because the urine is so foul, it makes me sick. Hurts my respiratory system. My children travel that way too in the neighborhood. They look at it every day. You're absolutely correct. Why not? The increasing numbers that you get from the health department and from the rape treatment center, the recent increase in murders and bodies found floating of women. Where I left off from this before, Commissioner and Chair, was that community-oriented policing versus community policing is really significant. And what I see when we first at least take law enforcement, I ask that you be careful, particularly for the women. and the people that are there. When we have an agency that has profiling issues and we can't really separate one African American from the one that lives around there, there possibly may be detainment on your way home because you're still taking that street. You need to give them proper notice. There's a group of mothers and other organizations that go out there that feed as well as provide support peer services. We'd like to coordinate with you, not just the ones that we know. I understand the University of Miami makes a lot of money for testing us, and it has a large guinea pig. They bring their money over there. That's cool. But you need other real innovative, gender-specific, because the ladies over there are having some issues. We'd like to participate. I want to thank you for allowing us to meet with you. Mothers on Patrol had their bikes stolen. I had surgery last week, Thursday. I went to the store because I was craving an Otis Spunkmeyer double fudge chocolate. Because the illegal drugs was really taking me through the munchies. I'm glad to recover. I didn't want to touch the door to the store because guys come in there and girls come in there with pops all over their hands. So hepatitis is at an all-time high. I pulled the figures. We do need to do something. My child goes in the store and touches the door. Someone just shot and injected in their hands. We're talking about increasing hepatitis. Commissioner, the police are so great with community-oriented policing in my area that, and I don't want to be foul, but I have to see this for 3 weeks. A young lady walking around with her shirt turned off, holding on her breast exposed. She's out there now. I've got pictures if you like to see. I'll give them to you, clerk. I held them just for this opportunity. Thank you, Jesus. No one would pick her up. Her menstrual cycle is flowing from 2 weeks. She sits there. They give her drugs. She sits there. No one touches her. I sat there 3 nights before I had my surgery. I swear to God, Chief, couldn't get nobody to take this child to crisis. What's wrong? Are we so lazy we don't want to do that? Man takes a crap right there at the subway downtown and at the other one by there. And I said, officers, this guy is spewing diarrhea. Here we're going. Yes, it's gross, isn't it? I had to stop the ambassadors. Please report that. Call the business owner. Call your crew. Tourists passing by. But at the time he was doing it, I have that picture too. Tourists are passing by watching it. One lady with a little girl. You can actually see her going exiting the picture. Why do we think it's not okay to tell those officers to wear gloves? Why do the officers think they do not have to arrest someone that's susceptible like that? It has to be a community-oriented policing. You're absolutely correct, Commissioner Carollo. I'm going to shorten it one more time. So the guy stole my bike. Immediately called. I was in flip-flops and my mouth was full of Otis Spunkmeyer double fudge. But the point was, the minute I went in the store, he went into a store on the corner that has no camera. Refuses to have camera. When you walk into that store, the 50-cent cigarettes are smoked before you get out. So code needs to follow up, just like we did in North Aid with Vivid Laura and the alternative gang about selling 50-cent cigarettes. You bring them, but then you have no place for me to park my bikes when we go. Lastly, all these bikes all up and down the avenue, tore up bikes with brakes on them. If I know that I could steal any tourist bike or anyone's bike right in front of 111 building and sell it for a 5-cent or a 10-cent piece of cracker heroin, does all these bikes laying around or something? My children in foster care, guys come, they're looking for them. They're transitioning out of foster care in those 2 units over there. They don't get any housing. The women out there with cancer just recently became my big thing. Not everybody out there amongst them. Sometimes you're safe amongst that crowd. You're not smoking, but they're out there. And they have cancer. They have nowhere else to go. They can't get treatment, so they're there. A lot of men, too, with prostate cancer. I don't know how the Homeless Trust does its survey. But do you recall, you may not city manager that we had, and you may too, Mr. Vickers, when we put all the tents out initially, when we first did the first one over, I think it was when Camilla's house was over there, all the adequate specific services that filled in the gap. I love the One Stop. One Stop brings only the 2 vendors or service agencies that we've already gotten our hands. We've already gotten it. You get it one time. So why you keep bringing me service suppliers and vendors that we've already gotten services? So when we talk about having an impact, we talk about doing it with the police, you have to have a partnership. You have to have educated vendors who won't be contaminated. And you must give the community notice so they're not mistaken an ID or profile for the wrong people. So when I come to talk to you those times about community-oriented policing and changing the scope and getting it in, I've talked to the chief a lot. I've sat down with Major Guerrero. I try to sit down with Commander Cook. We need to talk We need to have somebody can help, and you need to include the community, and you need to be safe with your officers, and we need to make sure that further injustice doesn't happen to anyone while we're trying to speak. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in public comment right now?
Mr. Chair.
Let's recognize public comment first.
I would, Mr. Chair, again, Ron Brook, in my capacity as chairman of the Homeless Trust. You've got an emergency ordinance or resolution in front of you. I simply want to tell you my personal experience. For the last 6 or 7 months, we have been very focused in the Overtown area. Together with the Chief's team, the NET teams, we've done a number of sweeps in an effort to try to make sure those that were able to persuade to get off the streets would do. While we were doing that, we came onto the area described in this resolution. On the weekend of June 24th or 25th, whatever that Saturday was, I went out to the area again and watched for 20 minutes while there was open sex in broad daylight. We watched not only drugs being passed very openly, very clearly. I'm sitting there watching. There was a police officer sitting in his car, 50 yards, 60 yards from him. We watched people taking and shooting their drugs into their thighs, into their arms, firsthand. It's not secondhand, it's not thirdhand. On Friday of last week, we had 2 of our judges, Judge Cohen, Judge Leifman, go out with folks from your staff, folks from our staff, and the deputy mayor who oversees police, fire, and corrections at the county. Out of that, where they saw exactly what Ms. Holmes just described, women with their chests completely bare, broad daylight, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Can't make this stuff up. We've got the photos. We've got what it takes. You've got an opioid epidemic going on. We know from the Department of Health that what's in here is substantiated as a health crisis. You got a Hep A and HIV, you got a problem. This is the definition of an emergency. We have a meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock with a number of judges and a number of others that care about this and care about dealing with the epidemic that exists out there, both the health epidemic as well as, if you will, the opioid mess, because that is nothing but an opioid den inside of a house of prostitution without being charged for it. That's what we saw and that's what we watched, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to be repetitious. Clearly, you know at this point that there is a public health issue in that area. We, in fact, sort of predicted that that would become an issue at First Court as well as Macy's. Our prediction was based on hepatitis A after some discussions with the Florida Public Health Department and looking at some other areas around the country where Hep A had become a problem with homelessness. I can tell you that we have started to address the Hep A problem in that area. Hep A is basically a communicable disease that deals specifically with the lack of washing of hands. So we have ordered and will begin to distribute hand sanitizer, antibacterial wipes, and a public education flyer, which will be an individual one-on-one campaign that is approved by the CDC and also recommended by the Florida Department of Health. The document that you have before you will be a part of the tool belt that we'll take to the meeting, the emergency meeting tomorrow with the administrative judge for the 11th Circuit. Also, when the meeting was initially formed, many of the city's executives were not on that invite list. They are now on that invite list, and we will attend, I believe, including the manager has committed to attending that meeting. So I don't want you to think that it's been overlooked, but there's a lot more that can be done. This is not just a homeless issue. It is now a real public safety issue. The point of not allowing it to spread outside of that contained area. Now, the health department did allow us, Mr. Chair, to place some individuals in shelter as long as we knew where they were in shelter. So that at least 13 of the individuals from the area were placed. 13, however, out of maybe 45 or 50 is a very small amount. So hopefully tomorrow we can get all the parties together. There has been some discussion. In fact, staff will be recommending the use of Baker and Mensa apps to address that problem. Those are both short-term stays in a mental facility, but at the very least, those individuals can be exposed to some treatment and possibly detox.
Thank you, sir. Any further comment from the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion amongst the commissioners?
Motion that I use, Commissioner, second by.
It was moved by Commissioner Reyes, second by Commissioner Carroll.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.